Kyrgyzstan used to be part of the Soviet Union. We all used to be a single country, but things change. Things are forgotten, but some things are not forgotten, like culture. Culture and language are critically important, and they are at the foundation of any society. The fact that our friends in Kyrgyzstan are so interested in maintaining the Russian language and keeping it on the national level as a national language, this is very important. This is a very good thing, and we must treasure that. In fact, we've planned to establish an entire network of Russian-speaking schools in Kyrgyzstan in the upcoming years. All the former Soviet Union republic used to be a single political and cultural space. We need to maintain some of that. Also, I've had a meeting dedicated to the launching of a number of schools and kindergartens in Russia. Now, overall, I must say that we are moving quite successfully in terms of improving and perfecting our educational institutions. Well, certainly some matters remain unresolved, but I'd like to start our meeting here today with the most important thing. I'd like to wish to you, to all the teachers, to all the students and school children, to all your parents, a happy Knowledge Day and happy September 1st. And I'd like to wish all of you luck in this new school year. You know, first, Knowledge Day is one of the most favorite holidays in our country. Just like New Year's, it's associated with some kind of change or waiting for something new, for something exciting. So like a New Year's opens a new year, September the 1st unleashes this new year of studies and of new things. This is very important to almost every person in the country. I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't have something associated with this day. Some have children, some are children themselves, some are teachers. So everyone is in some way or another connected to that date. This is an all-national holiday, a very kind holiday. And so one thing I'd like to say about that is, well, naturally, everything that's happening in the sphere of education with the first stage of education in every person's life, it's connected to your family, to your parents. This is the first step in your upbringing, and it is that which creates in any young person the interest for studying. And now I've heard about all sorts of projects launched on this platform, the Russia, the country of opportunities, it's called. But I've heard about a lot of projects but I haven't seen any projects that would be truly comprehensive, that would entail the activities of school children throughout the country, maybe something competitive, maybe on the level of the family. And I think that having a project like that, a massive project like that, would probably be a good thing. It's probably something that we need to have. So starting September 4th, I know that uh, everyone will be able to participate in these projects, and myself and my colleagues in the government would like, of course, for all generations of Russian families to take part in projects that are part of this platform. We want to see knowledge being passed down from generation to generation and values being passed down from family to family, because this is the foundation of our nation, the foundation of our future. And I hope that this project will help us strengthen these values that I've spoken about, in addition to the knowledge that you receive in schools and universities and higher education institutions. That's something that will help you move forward, choose a path in your life, then go along this path and be successful. That's key to the life of any young person making these difficult choices. And this is something that we will discuss today, of course. And if a person is able to find this path, like in the book Two Captains, if you have the chance uh, to unleash your potential, the potential of your soul, of your spirit, this is what guarantees your success in your future life as an adult. So moving along this path, becoming successful, you will be yourself pleased with the results that you achieve, with the things that you manage to do, with the contribution that you make to the development of the country. All of these things are interconnected. Let's say you are interested in arts or science, even if you're doing something else, uh, deep inside, deep down, you want to be recognized. You want other people to notice that what you do matters, that you live in a society, and recognition in a society and recognition of your success is very important to everyone. And this is just uh, one more stimulus for people to act, to to achieve. And I'm sure that you will be very successful in every area that you will try yourself in, whether it's uh, education or medicine or space exploration or anything else. So I'd like to wish to all of you good luck, and once again, happy Knowledge Day. So I'd like to conclude my opening remarks to you with that. I don't know if I'll be able to answer all of your questions, because you are young people and you know more things than about the modern world than I do, probably. But maybe we'll be able to not just answer each other's questions, but exchange opinions. So I'd like to give the floor to you now. Yes, my name is Tatiana Medicheva. I'm the director of the Russian Knowledge Society. And today, my colleague Anastasia and I, she's from Rostov-on-Don, and we will be helping you to moderate this meeting. Today, we have with us winners of the all Russian competitions and Olympiads. So they would like to ask you some questions. Can we do that? Well, I mean, I invite you not to just ask questions, but maybe exchange opinions, because that is something that will be really productive. And I'd like to hear your opinions about things that you do, about what you engage in, and your opinion with respect to how we should organize uh, whatever area you are interested in. Maybe you would like to see some support from the adults, from some officials or the government. Could we change the meeting into something, a discussion like that? Yes, I'd like to give the first to give the floor to Ruslan Sharkov from St. Petersburg. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, Mr. President. Yes, I'm also from St. Petersburg, just like you. I am 17 years old. I'm in the 11th grade. I study at school number 94. And I'm an activist of the Russian mm, children and young people movement. And I've been part of that movement for many years. And we have values that we treasure. And one of those values is, of course, family, something that you spoke about. My grandmother is an amazing person, and I'd like to say that I became interested in my family's history long ago, and I first spoke to her about that, and we spoke about the ways we'll be able to fill the gaps of the history of our family. So we created a family tree, 6 generations of our family. We dug up old family photos, old archives. We did that together, not with just my grandmother, but with all of our family. So this is one example of how families could do that and connect generations and maybe spend some quality time together. So my question is, maybe we should create some kind of archive or maybe a system that you'll be able to to fill in information about your family, and so it could be passed down generation to generation. And I support this idea of having a family or several generations all coming together and working together to that for the good of the country. Well, that's a great idea, and I would support it. And maybe the people from the administration, from the government, would hear you as well and could help out as well. Now, of course, coming together is a good thing without any obvious reason, just doing things together. But there is a reason to come together and do things, and it's an important reason: the ties between generations, the continuity of generations, seeing what happened to the people that you might have never even seen in your life, and you see how their lives ripple out to your own life. And in fact, I've seen letters of my grandfather whom I've never seen. He passed away before I was even born. So I got his letters that he wrote to his son, my uncle.
He sent them from the front line. So my grandfather, a peasant who was living in the Tverskaya Oblast, not far from here, do you know what caught my attention? It's the way he addresses his son in a very polite form and in plural. And so does his son. to his father. And that's a simple village peasant. He couldn't spell words right, but it really shows the profound culture that our nation has. Well, I have lots of people that I communicate with, artists, scholars, military people, and so on. Well, many people sometimes use cuss words or strong words, but that simple peasant addressed his son in plural form, in a polite plural form. And that's in a village deep in Russia. And when I found that out, well, it changed my attitude, the way I thought about my family. And I thought it would be really good if we could borrow those good things from our ancestors. In one of his letters, he wrote about how my grandmother was wounded. A German bullet hit her in the abdomen and she was dying on his arms. And I still remember the words he used in his letter when telling his son about his mother's last words. So he writes this in his letter, that she told him, her husband, don't cry, don't upset me. You see, she's dying and she's worried that he might get upset. They're simple people, but can you imagine, well, the scale of this love? How can we not take example from this? When we speak about our traditional values, this is what we also have in mind. This inner love that underlines the relationships within our society. And he writes in his letter to the front line, to his son, to fight the enemy, urging him to fight the enemy. I think things like that, they form the foundation of our lives, of our very being. And what you are doing, writing the history of your family, is something incredibly important. And I wish you best of luck and success in your endeavors, and we will do everything we can to support you in this. Yep, by the way, sorry. When I read my grandfather's letter to his son, I realized why we won the Great Patriotic War. Because one cannot defeat a nation with an attitude like this. And we are still a nation with an attitude like this. And this is just one picture in the history of a family. And such family constitute a vast majority here in Russia. Well, if you don't mind, I suggest giving the floor to Yaroslav Shastin, winner of International Excellence Competition. Hello, Mr. President, my name is Yaroslav Shastin. I'm a 10-year pupil in the city of Saransk. I have achieved quite a lot in my school career. I'm a 2 times winner of the All-Russian Excellence Competition. And sometimes I ask myself whether I have fulfilled my calling here. What do you think? What does it mean to be fulfilled as a person in life? Well, this is what I started with. It's very important to find oneself. And once a person finds themselves, they have a chance to get fulfilled to the fullest. What does that mean? It means being satisfied with what you do. It's both the result and the recognition. Both things are very important, I think, because results as such, well, they're important, but we humans also need feedback. Take Pushkin's verses, for example, about building himself a monument. Pushkin was writing about himself. Pushkin is basically the founder of what we know as modern Russian language. He was a genial poet, and he also longed for this public recognition. He talks about it. And this has to do with commitment to serving the society, achieving maximum results on your life path, and devoting your life and your achievements to your family, to the world in the broadest sense of the world, and to the country you live in. I think the combination of these factors makes a person happy. Thank you. Alena Varlashova, Perm region, young inventor. Hello, my name is Alena Varlashova. I come from the city of Perm. Now I'm an activist of the Russian kids and young people movement. And one of the most important events in my life so far has been that the idea of my experiment was confirmed on board the International Space Station. The experiment was about sending oil-destructing bacteria to space. Why would bacteria destroy oil? Yes, it's for dealing with oil spillages. And if we make them more efficient, I think it will help us solve environmental problems. Have you launched your bacteria in space already? We're preparing a launch. So you're going to launch bacteria into space for them to mutate there and then come back and destroy oil. Are you sure they won't eat us humans when they come back, those bacteria? That's important. Well, I'm joking, of course, but we need to keep things under control. Yes, of course, the experiment includes checking this bacteria for pathogenic activity. The support of Quantorium and the Perm Polytechnic University was very important to me. They helped boost my experiment to its current scale. I think professional support is very important. In school, I love mathematics, chemistry, biology, but there are disciplines in school that I don't like very much. Did you have disciplines in school that you didn't especially like? Well, I wish you success in mutating those bugs, the germs of yours, that they eat all the right things and don't eat what they shouldn't eat. And you're very lucky to have people next to you that help you. And if you need any support, well, we can ask the management of Roscosmos agency to help you. Well, now the mission is preparing for launch now, but Otherwise, it would be very good if not only myself, but other school children got support in their attempts as inventors. I will talk to the leadership of Roscosmos to make them take a look at this. But I know that Russian Space Agency, Roscosmos, has educational institutions across the Russian Federation. And as for the main part of your question, favorite disciplines or non-favorite disciplines. Well, I studied at school that majored in chemistry. Also physics and mathematics. And quite early, I myself decided that I will specialize in law. And that would require passing exams in history, literature, foreign languages. So I had to learn those. And as for favorite, non-favorite disciplines, well, I never thought about that much. We just had topics that we had to study. We just studied them. But I think it's a very important question. Well, it has to do with one's desire to learn as much as possible, to find out more about this world. And I think it has to do with teachers that can convey knowledge to their students. One can be a great expert in a certain matter, but at the same time, not be able to tell about this in an engaging or interesting way. But the thing is that everybody has to study as long as possible. That applies to teachers as well, to learn new things. And as for favorite or disciplines of choice, I think it doesn't matter really. Well, for example, there are humanitarian sciences, things like mathematics or chemistry. So when someone aspires to be a historian or a journalist or an expert in linguistics, they may think that mathematics or physics are of no need to them because they're never going to use them in life. So why waste time on this? And vice versa. And vice versa, people may think, why waste time, say, on history when I'm into mathematics, if I'm going to pursue a career in say, mathematics. But first of all, knowledge. We don't just accumulate knowledge to use it later on, but especially knowledge from different areas. Knowledge is what shapes an identity, a character. It's what shapes a world outlook. Knowledge gives us skills that are going to be useful in life. For example, an aspiring writer or journalist, if they do mathematics, it helps them boost their logical thinking. It helps them count, calculate in the broad sense of the word. Which is very important in every area of human lives. And for example, an aspiring mathematician, physicist, they may think they don't need history. But without history, they're going to have trouble understanding the ultimate goal of their research, for example. Besides, it's very important to have feedback from the society you live in. If you can't feel the society you live in, if you don't understand where you are living, if you don't know the history of your own family or of your own country, then you're going to have a hard time finding your bearings and system of values. It's what we call harmonious development. Of course, it's great to have your favorite science or sphere, but at the same time, it's very good to have a broad outlook on things that surround you. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to fully enjoy life, almost impossible, in fact. So I think we should refrain from saying favorite or non-favorite disciplines or subjects. It's better to develop in a wide area, in a wide range of things. Thank you.
Alina Novoselova,
Alina Novoselova.
region. My name is Alina Novoselova. From which region? From Omsk, from the Omsk region. I have twice winner of the Russian Olympiad, and I'm specialize in sewing. In fact, the clothes I wear, I've made them myself. So as a person who develops her own talents and creates things with their own hands, the idea of teaching people to work, I believe it's really critical. I know that in my classroom, everyone is responsible for one thing or another and maintaining order or cleaning the rooms or etc. I believe that such things prepares the young people for uh, adult life, for having responsibilities. So I think it would be great if every school would have some equipment or some sewing machines or etc., so that they could learn to create things for themselves and for society. Uh, but that's what we do already uh, as part of our school program. Um, there are all kinds of things that young people are being taught to do in schools, including, well, not just sewing, but also IT and other technical areas. And specific skills are important, of course, in order to find your path forward, to find your potential career or life path. Maybe even if it's not to help you find this area where you would excel in, it is something that will just help you realize that you can create things with your own hands. And I've already spoken about that, and I can say it again. Back when I was when I was young, I almost I worked as a carpenter. I had skills as a carpenter, although I wasn't planning to become one for life. And but I learned to do things with my own hands. That's that's good. That's the idea itself is very correct, and that's something that we're going to do. So thank you. Mr. President, in fact, we have among us uh, perhaps a future pilots for uh, Russian civil aviation. What's your name? Bulat Nurgaliyev. I'm from Tatarstan, from city of Kazan. Um, I like to create um, drones and other various aircrafts, and I participated in various competitions, and I've won 20 of them. Like I said, I want to become a pilot, to pilot a civil aircraft, civilian aircraft. Mm, My question is, after all the restrictions were introduced, it's become difficult to create drones and train operating drones. Um, Maybe we could create special areas or parks throughout Russia where uh, people like I could legally operate such things. So you want to, so you like unmanned vehicles like that, and you want to become a pilot. Well, yes. So unmanned aircraft and unmanned equipment is something is an area that develops uh, is a separate area, and it's developing very rapidly. You probably know that it's being used everywhere, in all spheres of life, uh, in mail, uh, in the military sphere, in security, in forestry. Um, so the fact that you are interested in that is great. In fact, we have a program that's uh, up to the year of 2030. We are planning to train 1 million specialists in that area. Maybe that's even that number would not be enough. There are certain restrictions, yes, and I met my colleagues a month ago and to discuss that specific subject. We saw that, and we recognized that mm, not always these restrictions have to do with, well, most of these have to do with maintaining security, but they unfortunately make it impossible for people like you to train. But there is a park like that in Moscow. Yes, there is. So maybe we could create something like that in Tatarstan. I know that we'll be able to do that in Tatarstan as well. Thank you. In fact, Bulat even brought his drones here to show uh, to the other children. Yeah. Uh, Karolina Umanskaya from the Zaporozhye region, from Melitopol. My name is, I'm 15. I study 3 languages. I am an activist of the movement of the pioneers. And so I've been actively involved uh, in theater and in rhetoric. Um, so a question I'd like to ask is something that's of interest not to just people in I've met in Russia, but also the people from the new territories from Donetsk and Lugansk. So my question is, what is the what lies ahead for the development of the new Russian regions, and how do you see them 5 years from now? Well, I believe that people living in these regions see how focused the federal authorities are on uh, bringing these regions up in terms of development. And I know that unfortunately the previous authorities abandoned many of the areas of life there, and it's not to blame the people who are actually living there. These are all very energetic and active and lively people. They're not asking for handouts. They want to get actively involved in developing their own regions. But we are planning to allocate almost 2 trillion, 1.9 trillion rubles to help help these regions. We have a program in place uh, to achieve all that. So the first goal is to reach the same level as throughout Russia in general, to rebuild infrastructure. Much of it has been unfortunately destroyed. So we need to rebuild and improve infrastructure. These are all very obvious things and maybe boring things, but it's really important to rebuild schools, higher education facilities, um, various elements of culture, uh, of course, agriculture as well. Um, this is all really important. So we will not just track the way people live and what they do. No, we will actually take into account all the difficulties that people face in these regions, and we will try to hit as many targets as possible at the same time without sacrificing, of course, security. We won't wait until all the military developments are done in the area. We will proceed to actually making change in these new territories so that as quickly as possible, so that they would feel that they are part of this massive country, that they are part of Russia, and that they are safe and secure and have an opportunity, a chance to develop, to achieve great results, and safeguard the future for their children. One thing that I also wanted to ask you is whether you plan to develop tourism in these new territories, because we have a lot of potential for that. Yes, of course. I spoke to the heads of regions about that, and I've heard a lot of good ideas with respect to improving the tourist potential um, of these areas. And I'm certain that the people of Russia will be happy to discover these new areas. Thank you, Mr. President. We have a professional athlete with us who's also engaged in scientific activity, Timur Akhmedov. Yes, my name is Timur Akhmedov from Moscow. I received a gold medal at the Mendeleev Olympiad, and also I'm a winner of the chemistry Olympiad competition. So I've so which school? It's Chuikov School in the east of Moscow. Um, so at the competition, we had an entire team, and that's something that we were able to do thanks to our teachers, uh, and I was lucky that my school actually cooperates with various organizations that has to do with chemistry and biology. I know a lot of kids from all over Russia who would like to participate in that as well, who would like to uh, get involved in scientific work, in exploration, and I would like uh, for every person like that to have a tutor, a mentor, or teacher who would help him train for and prepare for such competition, or maybe get involved in professional work like that and create his own professional path towards science. This could create a society of young scientists all across Russia. Thank you. So you are talking about establishing society of tutors or mentors. Uh, yes, sure. Well, we are already doing that as much as possible and in as many places as possible. And in the academic world, in the scientific world, this is also really important. Um, you also said that you like sports, and I play volleyball. Well, you look like a volleyball player. Um, so, so, so I'm a central defense player in volleyball. So, if let me go back to your. mm, I'll go back to your question, but let me say it's really great to see that uh, participant here in our meeting does both science and sports. Why do you do it like that? Well, I really enjoy volleyball. I like to feel I'm part of the team, and I want to see some results to achieve some results there as well in sports as well. I think that if you continue to do both sports and science and art, you will really get the best out of life. This comprehensive, all-rounded development is really uh, critical to young people, and mentorship and tutorship is um, really important as well. I'll talk to the Minister of Science and Education about that. We'll cover that subject. Um, So you spoke about conferences and competition. Well, I congratulate you on your outstanding results, but so you think that there's not enough that's being done to help young people preparing for these conferences, etc. Well, in Moscow, we have specialists who are helping young people and this is a sort of mentorship, but this is not done officially. This is just individual um, willingness of these people to help out the kids. So I'll look into this, into the ways we can organize mentorship at a more organized level. Maybe something could be added to this program if people who could get involved in mentorship so that they would have that they would really be interested in that.
This is what Elizaveta Mendelovich from Tumen is dreaming of. Hello, Mr. President. My name is Elizaveta Mendelovich. I'm 16. I'm from Tumen. I represent the city of Tumen. And I really want to be a teacher of history, public science. When I was 16, I won my start as a teacher contest. I also developed my own table game, professional orientation game, that is played in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and other Russian cities and towns. It is done in a monopoly format. There are fields with property, and players can buy institutions in this game. Well, the host of the game tells about skills and knowledge required required to acquire certain property. There are also fields where players can take a look into student life, get student loans, and even credits. There are even fields with failed exams where players have to overcome that and move on. When I graduate, I would like to come back to the school I came from to raise future generations. And today, on the Knowledge Day, I would like to thank our teachers for the great, amazing job they're doing. And let me begin with my teacher and say thank you to Oksana Starostina, my school teacher, for her responsibility, for her contribution to the achievement of her students. Oksana, you are a real professional example to me. I would like to ask you, Mr. President, who of your teachers and mentors you would like to say words of gratitude today? I think this is a very good idea that we need to expand and develop, because everything we have in life we owe to our parents, our school children, our school teachers. I still remember my first school teacher, Tamara Chizhova. Also Vera Gurevich was our teacher in senior school years. Indeed, I'm very thankful to them. I owe a lot to them. And I'd like to get back to this once again. Of course, it depends on our diligence, our commitment. But we capitalize on what our parents and our first teachers gave us. We should never forget what they have done for us. And we should treat them the way we want people to treat ourselves. So Daria from Smolensk region helps, in her region, she helps kids with oncology diseases. Mr. President, my name is Daria. I come from Smolensk. As Tatiana said, indeed, I developed a project to help kids with oncology diagnosis. I study 7 foreign languages, recently started learning Latin. And we also developed a professional orientation community in Vkontakte, social network. My question has to do with my main key passion, foreign languages. Now we communicate less with Europe and aspire more for communication and cooperation with Eastern countries. I know many kids who would like to learn Oriental languages, but they don't have the opportunity. I would like to know what you think and probably suggest that we make Chinese language readily available to study in schools. Well, interest towards Oriental languages is natural, I think. It's absolutely natural. Because we're witnessing rapid development of this part of the world, Asia. It doesn't mean that everything else doesn't develop, but still, it's a fact. The girl before you said that she's interested in international relationships. And recently, ex-president of France, Nicolas Sarkozy, published an article where he speaks about the future development of the world. And I agree with many things he says there. And among other things, he says that very soon there will be 2.5 billion people living in Africa. And what about Asia? There's 1.5 billion people in China, 1.5 billion in India, 300 million in Indonesia. So these are objective processes. They don't even have much to do with today's current situation in the world, although that, of course, contributes to it. But this is, well, objective processes. This is very serious. And for a long time, we've been keeping an eye on the development of our relationships with Asian countries, Eastern countries. And it's a natural process because considering the rates of their development, of Asian countries, Asian Pacific countries, the center of economic and then political life will gradually migrate towards those regions. And I repeat once again, this is an absolutely natural, unavoidable process. It doesn't mean we have to give up all other vectors of our interaction and cooperation, but still, it's something that we cannot overlook. And in this connection, of course, learning the languages of countries that we are deepening our ties with is essential. Take China, for example. Our trade turnover is growing. It has exceeded $100 billion. It has doubled, I think, or grew by 2.3 times recently. And this, of course, is going to require a number of specialists that can work in those directions. And learning Oriental languages is, of course, highly demanded. We're going to need specialists, but this is going to take time and certain efforts, certain resources, but we are going to do that. Capitalizing on the foundation that we have inherited from the previous years. Because education has always been very good in Russia and the Soviet Union, and everybody recognizes that. Yes, indeed, we're going to do that, and we will do this. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I wish you best of luck. How many languages you are learning? You said Latin, but what other languages do you study? French, English, Spanish, Polish, German, Japanese. So you see, of all the 7 languages you mentioned, just one is Oriental, Japanese. Yeah, you need to work on that. Yes, I have that in my plans. So best of luck to you. So, Mr. President, considering your tight schedule, can you tell me, can we have another question? Mr. President, my name is Maria Gribanova. I'm the last year student at school in Moscow. Previously, I used to be into IT, mathematics, and I was dreaming about becoming an IT specialist. But last year, I got interested in humanitarian sciences. And I won many academic competitions and contests. So it turns I'm a tech person and a humanitarian person at the same time. Now I'm really interested in regulation of digital technologies and using them in everyday lives, including the sphere of education. So I have a question to you. What plans does Russia have to implement artificial intelligence in education process at schools and universities? For example, replacing teachers with artificial intelligence. And in that case, how the process is going to look of teaching and bringing up school children? And to what extent do you think we should allow artificial intelligence to replace humans? Well, I think we should refrain from a discussion right now as to what's going to happen with humanity as artificial intelligence develops. Many sincerely think it's a great threat, while others think it's going to be under control of humans. Or maybe artificial intelligence is going to be self-learning, self-educating. But going back to your question about artificial intelligence in education, first thing I'd like to say that, yes, of course, we're looking into that. We're following this path and we're going to follow it in the future. And I agree with experts who say that today we need to treat AI as an instrument to help teachers, human teachers. As for at least today, artificial intelligence cannot substitute direct contact between a teacher and a student. Now, there are many points of view and many different approaches. Some people think that artificial intelligence will be able to replace teachers. For example, in some cases, artificial intelligence has been demonstrating traits previously seen only in humans, like compassion. But I think right now, artificial intelligence should be just another instrument in the hands of a teacher. And in this case, I completely agree with you. We have lots of interesting things going on AI-wise. For example, Sberbank is working on a very promising path of preparing school children, students, university students, and they use AI-enabled instruments as well. Thank you. You study law, right? Yes, indeed. I'm going to pursue a career in that in the future. Do you study Latin? Yes, I do. So you sure know what dura lex sed lex means? I do. Maria Lebedeva dreams of majoring in medicine and become a doctor. Mr. President, I come from Bийsk. I'm a last year student at school. So this July I was in Serious Education Center in Sochi, and it was an incredibly inspiring experience. And I would like to see more kids interested in medicine, defense systems, and microelectronics. Not all schools have interdisciplinary subjects. And what do you think? For senior school children, can we introduce these subjects as voluntary subjects? But I think we need to be careful with that, with introducing new subjects and disciplines as extracurricular activities maybe. But we need to do this because you're absolutely right. It's one of the things that will be determining our future soon. And you mentioned several uses for nanotechnologies, but there are so many of them, not only defense industry. For example, now we have these days we have aircraft, airplanes, and nanotechnologies can help us make airplanes the size of a fly. And nanotechnologies will help us get new materials And there are so many uses for nanotech, and it's going to revolutionize all aspects of our lives. I think nanotechnology is well, super tiny particles, 1 billionth of a meter, and now people are thinking about using nanoparticles of 1 trillionth of a meter. And by all appearances, well, at the risk of sounding ridiculous, I can say that the micro world is as vast and boundless as the outer space. That's very impressive. And it houses amazing possibilities for any country, for the world. Just yesterday, at a government session, we spoke about that last night. So yes, we will do our best to develop that as well, including in schools.
So you spoke about nanotechnologies. Let's give the floor to Grigory Vasilyev from Nizhny Novgorod. I study at school number 800, and I like arts. I play musical instruments such as the xylophone, like piano. I do theater, and I write poetry. I have friends throughout Russia who also write poems, write prose, and they are ready to share their creations with the people, um, their writings with their audience. But unfortunately, there are very few platforms where writers from throughout Russia could come together and exchange uh, their writings and to have audience to listen to them. There are not enough teachers who could teach you how to write poetry or prose, and unfortunately there is not enough information support from the state. So you're saying there's not enough information on the internet. Well, that's a bit different. So my idea is, what if we create a club of young authors where writers and poets from different cities and towns across Russia could come together to a single platform to teach each other, to learn from one another, and to write together. Could we do that with the support of the Ministry of Education? Well, we'll look into that. I'll talk to the Minister of Education, and if you really feel that that's something that's lacking, we have an open environment, and everyone is open to talk to anyone else and come together. Maybe if you feel that we need to have a special platform dedicated to writing specifically, we could do that. I know that in Crimea there's a platform like that, but you need to go to Crimea to participate in that. Well, yes, but maybe we could launch the platform from there, from Crimea, and develop it from there, going forward into well, eastward into the rest of Russia, and maybe get mentors from there, and to try to expand their scale of work. Well, we'll look into that, but in Tavrida already has over 70 branches throughout Russia, in almost every region of Russia. So, but probably it's not enough, or maybe they are not as active as they should be. That could be. So you write poems. Could you read something uh, something to us from your work? If you're uncomfortable reading your poetry, then you don't have to. So my poem about homeland. What an amazing poem. So your name is Grigory, right? That's an amazing poem. Thank you. So the poetry night is one of our favorite events, and uh, now I'd like to give the floor to Ania Gojiva, who is j- as much a fan of biology. Well, or maybe we should listen first to Christina Kule. Yes, my name is Christina Kule. I'm 16. I'm from Krasnodon. I study in the Lugansk Lyceum, and I'm a winner of the uh, lectures competition and part of the movement of the pioneers. So the changes that are happening in the Republic create great opportunities for the young people. I'd like to thank you for that. My question has to do with developing Russia-China ties. You noted that they are actively developing, and for further promising development of this partnership, it's important to have a certain level, certain degree of knowledge about your counterparts. So perhaps we could organize some sorts of exchange programs with China where we could uh, help our Chinese counterparts and other students get acquainted with Russia, and we are on our part could learn more about China, and maybe we could organize a similar program with respect to the African states. Well, certainly this is very important, and this is something that we already do. We'll continue to progress along those humanitarian lines, and we've already had years of culture exchanges, years of youth exchanges. Um, this is critically important because it creates an informal sort of connection between the youth of different countries, different nations. Now, this as apart from our ties uh, in terms of the economy, in terms of finance or the energy sector, uh, we need to have specialists, including specialists that would work in these areas. And how do we get specialists? We need to uh, help these young people to get to know more about their potential lines of work, and maybe they will work with China. And I I call the leader of China my friend, and he calls me his friend as well. And we he personally does a lot to develop Russia-China ties. Once I meet him, I will certainly bring up this idea about humanitarian contacts and additional exchanges. Maxim Borsuk, Sevastopol. Yes, my name is Maxim. I'm from the sunny city of Sevastopol, and I do IT technologies, Telegram bots, AI learning, all these sorts of things. But what I wanted to talk to you about has nothing to do with that. Many of our guys here spoke about popularizing education, knowledge, and you yourself said that there should be no favorite subjects. Every subject is important, every discipline is important. But since we have school theaters spring up in schools throughout uh, Russia, maybe we could organize a society for scientific stand-up. It's a sort of art where the performer can explain difficult things using simple language. It's scientific stand-up. I think it's something that we, as part of the society, uh, a science society, knowledge society, well, we have something like that in the place uh, where I study, and we could expand this practice to the rest of the schools so that this stand-up artist could explain difficult scientific concepts to the audience in a humorous way. Yes, I understand what you're talking about, and I support that. Overall, teachers in schools in general like to use this kind of humorous way of explaining things, especially uh, in higher grades, and when older school children talk to younger ones, they feel like they're adults already. They feel responsible for for the young ones, and the younger children also need to feel trust and towards their among the older students. So this is just interesting way of interaction, and I will certainly talk to the Minister of Education so we could maybe expand and introduce this practice to a great extent in Russia. Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Zinat. I'm 17. I'm from the Moscow region. This year I started the 11th grade, and today we've heard the subject of culture and language brought up multiple times, and I agree with you completely that it's something that we should be preserved and translated to newer generations. So this summer I read a book by Dostoevsky, and in the book he wrote about how people in the Russian Empire were suspicious of official medicine, so they would never go to a hospital, but rather go to some old woman whom he trusts, so like a witch doctor or something. But I know that science has we've seen great strides in terms of scientific developments, and Russian scientists also made a great contribution to that. In fact, we even developed the first COVID-19 vaccine. This was an outstanding achievement, and I was really surprised to see people across the world and in Russia be suspicious of this vaccine. So I know that the year 2023, the year of the teacher and or mentor, usually when we talk about teaching, we see an older person teaching a younger one something, but it's not always like that. Perhaps we could launch special projects where younger people could educate the older generation about something they know less about. Well, this idea overall is a good one. When we had programs to improve people's ability to use computers and computer skills, I know that a lot of people, including people of the older generation, participate in that programs, and they were being taught to by younger people, younger professors and teachers. So this is not something that's unheard of. We have a lot of younger professionals teaching older people things. But it's important, of course, for these young people to actually be specialists. And overall, I'd say that your proposal is, well, a good one. Do you have any specific things you'd like to see? What would you want us do? How do you want us to organize this? Maybe you have some concept of that. I had thoughts about that in the earlier stages. Of course, there probably wouldn't be people who want to work for free or to educate older people. Maybe at first it could be a volunteer organization, but the reason why I believe this is important is this would help older people to remain active in terms of mental activities. So, well, this is certainly a good thing, and it's a noble thing because, yes, I know that there's scientific research that says that older people who engage in mental or artistic activities, they live longer. Uh, and specialists believe that this has to do with, well, brain activity, because the brain, it activates all other functions of the body, makes them work, makes them tick. So this is really important. Now, as to how difficult it is to teach an older person some new tricks or change his mind, well, that is difficult to an extent, because neurons in the brain, with age, they start firing slower, and um, the speed of the number of neurons and the speed of connections between the neurons and becomes slower. So the ties, there are fewer ties between neurons, and the knowledge that's based on these neural connections. If you have some knowledge or some concepts that you already have in your brain chemistry, it's very difficult to change that, because to change it, you need to have some very um, strong emotions or new experiences. But it's difficult, but the idea itself is a noble one. It's a good one. So we'll try to make sure it happens.
If I may just comment briefly, Russian Znania Society has a great pool of lecturers who read lectures free of charge to people across Russia. And we need to develop that. Yes, we need to capitalize on that. My name is Maria Andreeva. I'm from Rostov, and I'm the conqueror of space. My name is Maria Andreeva. I'm a 9th year student at the Lyceum in Rostov. And recently a satellite was launched that I had developed together with my team in cooperation with the Higher School of Economics. So I am a mentor for kids in space exploration. I develop and teach my own lectures on space exploration for school kids. And I have a little proposition for you and a request. The proposition is that there's an amazing program of space classes, but these space classes are not available everywhere across Russia. So I think there are more than 100 of them, but in smaller towns or in towns where there are no Roscosmos enterprises, kids don't have access to these classes. And my project is aimed at those kids. So my idea is to organize a program for children at Roscosmos enterprises and facilities in different cities, Russia, where kids could come and find out more about what's going on there and find out where they could start to pursue a career in space exploration. And I have this request. When I read lectures to kids, I come to those lectures with this little satellite that I developed, or the first satellite I developed. Whenever I take it out of the box, I see the kids' eyes light up. So my dream has been to meet with you, and well, in memory of this meeting, can I ask you please to leave your signature on my satellite, just as a sign that everything is possible? Well, I think this is a great idea. I already promised others here that I will talk to Roscosmos management. And I think it will be good to have space classes like this for kids all over Russia. Thank you. Valeria Loskutova has been really yearning to speak. Mr. President, my name is Valeria Loskutova. I am from Voronezh. So every one of us here are winners of the Russian Kids School of Mentorship contest. So we've seen lectures from different spheres, we've seen master classes, but I'd like to point out that we have exchanged lots of knowledge here. Yaroslav hosted a training session. Another kid here told about financial literacy. And basically every one of us is ready to become a mentor for other kids. 2 days later, we will return to our hometowns, and we will go to schools, and we will give our own lectures to kids. Mr. President, what do you think is the key message that we should deliver to other kids on this class on the 4th of Russia? The key message is love Russia. But I think we need to be creative about that. Well, the way Grigori here does it, we need to look at it from the historical perspective, from the point of view of tasks that the country is facing, with our history, with our traditions, with our family values, and with the future of our motherland. All this from all angles. We should deliver this message in a captivating, beautiful way to make other kids' eyes light up. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. President. My name is Andrei Mekhashula. I come from the town of Pushkin in Moscow region. This year I started learning at the Primakov Gymnasium. And just like you, a while ago, I dream of becoming a law student. Well, there are lots of academic contests in Russia, and I've taken part in many of them. And my question here is, what skills and qualities do you think a person should possess to become a state official and maybe become the president of Russia? Because right now we are creating the future, and Russia is the land of opportunity. This is our motto. This is what the Kids School of Mentorship is all about. Well, maybe I may say some basic things, but there's not getting away from them. You said state service, and it is service indeed. It's serving. Serving who? Serving the country, serving your people. If you don't have this inherent need to help people, to serve people, then what point is there to say to learn to become a doctor if you don't feel like helping people? The same applies to state service. If you have this inner intrinsic need, urge to help people, to help your town, your village, if you have this urge, then that's the only condition. Ask Grisha here. He wants to write poetry, and he does it. And if you want to be a civil servant, then only then you need to study for that. And as for self-development on this noble path, everything can be overcome if you have this inner urge to serve people. Well, yes, indeed, I am ready to go and help and serve people because I think this is one of the key things in people's lives. I think with an attitude like this, you are well positioned to become a state servant. Good day, Mr. President. My name is Ivan Mikhailov. I am the winner of academic contests in history and geography and the two-time gold medalist of the European Geography contest. So in these turbulent times, our country is facing big challenges, technological sovereignty, security, and many other things. I'm going to ask about the challenge that I think is the most important, and that's the centralization of the country. You know, that every year and every decade, lots of people move from smaller cities and villages to big cities. Moscow's population is estimated at more than 20 million people now. And this figure is going to double in the next few decades. Do you think it is a threat for the country or it's a natural process, and what can be done about this? Just watch it develop or do something about it? Well, it's called matters of spatial development. And there are debates going on about this in the country's leadership. So what's more important, to pay more attention to the development of large centers or support the development of the country as a whole? I think the truth is, as always, somewhere in the middle. World practice shows that the most successful are countries that develop large agglomerations. They are the centers of development. But the development of even large agglomerations should go harmoniously along with the scientific, scholar, and manufacturing spheres and social sphere. Schools, kindergartens, hospitals, universities, and so on. Because otherwise there could be difficulties. Look at what is happening in Moscow right now. Say with public transport. Moscow's public transport is better than that in many big cities of the world. That's for sure. But this requires a very committed management. For our country, the vast territory and the population relatively small for a territory like this, we need to do several things. We need to develop those territories harmoniously, evenly, creating new interesting jobs with good income, developing education, healthcare, and so on and so on. But besides those things, there's another factor that will allow us to develop the country. That's transport connection among territories. Just to give you an example, this project of high-speed railway that will allow us to take only 2 hours to get from Moscow to St. Petersburg. This will make a very big difference for people living in the middle of that, between Moscow and St. Petersburg. It will only take them 1 hour to get to Moscow or to St. Petersburg from, say, Tver. That's faster than some people take to commute to work in Moscow. And then if we expand to the east or to the south, to the Ural Mountains and behind them, this is a very complex, a very big challenge, but essential for any big country. Also said that increasing transport accessibility between Moscow and St. Petersburg will change the lives of people living between Moscow and St. Petersburg. But indeed, the regions between St. Petersburg and Moscow are one of the fastest depopulating regions, because all people use transport accessibility to move to Moscow or St. Petersburg. Well, if it only will take them 1 hour to get from Tver to Moscow, I think it will be very good to live in a small house on a riverbank near Tver. It's much better than living in the concrete jungle of Moscow. I think it will only go to help solve the tasks. Can we give the floor to Daria from Resign?
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Daria Kalekina. I'm from Novomechurins, from Ryazan region. I'm an activist of the movement of the pioneers. I participate in Olympiads and I like folk dances. This year I started my 11th grade and I'd like to have a gold medal when I graduate from school. I like technical subjects, but I enjoy humanities more. So I know that the silver medal has been introduced just recently, and I'd like to thank you for that personally. You should thank the Minister of Education. Yes, thank you. Mr. President, I have a dream. Can I shake your hand and pass it on to my parents? And what do your parents do? My mother works in the city administration, and my father, sorry, I'm nervous. My father works at the power plant in Ryazan. So your parents do very responsible jobs, and they managed to bring you up as a very wonderful human being. So thank you. Thanks to them. Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Iveta Makoeva. I'm from Kabardino-Balkaria, and I'm chairperson of the council of the movement of the pioneers. I have multiple victories in various competitions, and it's a great honor for me to be in this hall right now to be able to ask you these questions. Like you said before, in education and mentorship, you always look into the future. Do you believe that mentorship will take an important part in the future of young people in Russia? Of course, this is something that we spoke about many times before. mentorship is really plays a really integral part in education and in transferring your own experience to the people you trust and from the people they trust. Um, this is a very important process that will strengthen our society. We'll continue to work on that. Thank you. Gleb Igarenkov, Novosibirsk region. Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Gleb Igarenkov. I was born in Novosibirsk. I'm 14. I like chemistry and biology. I participate in various competitions and Olympiads that have to do with chemistry and biology. And I really enjoy genetics. I'd like to agree with you and with Maria that it is really important, it's critical to introduce new disciplines like nanotechnology, like genetics into the school curriculum, the school program. Um, but I think that everyone would agree with me in saying that meeting you here was really productive, and I don't think I think that we should certainly have a group photo. Uh, I know that this has nothing to do with genetics, but this will help us uh, feel a stronger sense of, well, unity. We can take a photo for the future generations. Thank you. Have you won any competitions? Yes, I take part in the National Technology Olympiad, and currently I'm participating in the senior track in agro biotechnologies and modern uh, food industry and engineering, and I hope I will win. So I wish you good luck. Alina Shutova. My name is Polina Shutova. I'm from the uh, Zabaikalia, and um, I just graduated to the 10th grade. I develop mobile apps for VR and augmented reality. My one of my projects is has to do with Russia's geography. So I took 3 Russian regions, uh, and so I basically uh, took information about various um, sites in these areas, in these regions, took the information about that, put this on the app, and make sure that the users can actually visit these places in VR. Um, do you think that it is that we should introduce this kind of technology into the uh, academic process? Maybe this will help the teachers. Well, this will certainly be a good thing, but well, virtual reality, augmented reality, it all has to um, be, of course, regulated by certain safety standards, especially when it comes to younger children. There are certain limits to the use of this technology, but if we can use it to help the education process, then we certainly should, wherever we are able to do that. We must use the achievements of